Hello, welcome to CEO Insights, the Living Organization podcast with Vitaly Gimin. That's me. With me is Regis Cazenave from S2Group. Welcome, Regis.
Hi, welcome. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Vitaly, for inviting me today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you. Maybe tell us a little bit about S2Group and also the other organization you're part of, and then we'll start this exciting conversation about technology as a force for good. Stay tuned because this is going to be very exciting.
Thank you. I'm not sure if all the big influencers will be on our side today, but we'll, without naming anybody. So my name is Regis. I'm based in the Netherlands, but I was born in France and lived in different countries in Europe and also in Asia. As you mentioned, I'm currently leading the international expansion in Europe of S2Grupo. S2Grupo is a cybersecurity specialist specialized in security managed services, headquartered in Spain, and expanding into Europe and Latin America. And as you mentioned, I also have another assignment at ITIA.
Tell us quickly about the other assignment.
Yes, of course. ITIA is a non-for-profit organization. It's the software innovation cluster of Eureka. For the ones who haven't heard about Eureka yet, it's the largest R&D network in Europe. And at ITIA, so we are part of Eureka, we focus on bottom-up innovative and collaborative projects across Europe and bottom-up from the industry. And so we help SMEs and large corporations to build up their consortiums and to get their innovative ideas funded. And we managed around 120 million euros of funded projects every year.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good cause. And those of us who are listening who are scale-ups, startups, in Europe, you can hit Regis up on LinkedIn and speak to him about it, but I'm sure there's more. Let's switch to our, because we have limited time, so let's switch to our topic of today, which is technology as a force for good. What does that mean for you, first of all, and maybe give us a few examples of that?
Yeah, thank you. Of course, I received, and I think I'm not the only one, recently many times the same question about AI and generative AI. Is it good? Is it bad? And I'm speaking about relatives of me or people who are not really into technology like I am. And I always give the same answer. Technology is not good or bad by itself. It's just the use we make of technology. So it's more about the human factor behind it and what we have in mind when we develop technology and when we use technology. So I'm strongly convinced that if we, and I have children, young children myself, that if we educate them properly to make good use of technology and just being good people, then they will also make positive use of technology. But unfortunately, we see recently in the news that there is very bad examples of how technology can be used in a very negative manner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're using now AI to guide drones, explosive missiles, and killing millions of people with it. And then we go, wow, AI is really progressing. Well, if that's the use of AI, then we're all in trouble, right? As a species.
Indeed. And I mean, I'm just makes me think about one thing that unfortunately you see that in many cases the innovation in technology is driven by military applications.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a food for thoughts on how we can deviate and invest more monies, both from the private and public sectors, in civil applications rather than military applications. And just imagine if we would live in a world where instead of spending all that time and energy in trying to kill our neighbors and get more power, if we would put that for the common goods, how far we could go.
What do you think it would take to shift the paradigm? And I'm trying to be very careful with my words, because the paradigm always been, military first, then they kill a whole bunch of people and they go, wow, it works now. And then we say, okay, can we use it for a few civilian, this microwave technology, even communication technology, now AI, virtual reality. What is it going to take to shift the paradigm? You said, well, what if we start starting to use it for civil purposes? But it's not looking that way. We're going even more into the militarized, bipolar, the world is changing once again. Now Asia is rising, the West is falling. Again, there's more turmoil and more war coming. What is it going to take for us to shift that paradigm?
Yeah, indeed. I think we unfortunately we live in, you can see in cycles, no, and it's true that we are now in a cycle where unfortunately the tensions at the international level are increasing, and so you see more and more focus and energy put into military applications and defense budgets, which from a cybersecurity point of view, company, I would say from a business point of view, I would say bring us a lot of business, but from an ethical point of view, that would not be the best option, no? And I'm wondering if we will be able at some point to solve the conflicts. And I mean, it's normal to have conflicts of interest, no? I think as soon as you have a group of more than 2 people, there is probably a risk. But are we able to solve these conflicts through diplomatic ways and manner that are first much less expensive, and then from a business point of view much more profitable, and from an ethical point of view without killing people, no, without use of violence? And I do believe that we need to educate people from a very young age on that, and that's probably something that you see very clearly in all authoritarian regimes. So the first thing they target is the education. And I think that education is key to build non-violent citizens and educated citizens who are able to understand, to detect manipulations. And you see that unfortunately there is a stronger support of these authoritarian regimes, and they use social networks. And I think it's very important for especially the young children and also adults to have a very critical view on the information we receive, and not just to react from the guts, no?
No, totally understand. And give us some example, because you started of positive use of technology. You said you gave me some before, maybe just for audience. We're going to lighten up the mood a little bit. Give us an example of a positive use of technology.
Of course, I think there are plenty of positive and probably more than negative ones. But I think that unfortunately that's another thing that we should try to change at some point, is that when you hear the news, we always focus on the bad news, and apparently it's more attractive for the people. And you start seeing now some media, some newspapers trying to focus on positive news, and I've seen that also for children. So I'm very happy with that. I hope that will be successful. As I mentioned, as ITEA, for example, we finance many projects in different fields, and I can mention some examples in the smart health field, where we funded projects using AI to improve cancer treatment, detection, and diagnosis. And so that's really powerful, and that's really saving life. And as you mentioned before, I think it's better to use technology to save lives than to destroy lives. And I can also mention I'm serving as an advisory board member in a Spanish startups that I started in very early stage, helping them, and now they grew up, and they've been founded by the football club of Barcelona, so they're becoming very famous. But their main focus is on social impact. They are developing solutions using AI to help people with hearing deficiencies, so deaf people. And so they just started developing a very simple mobile interface, and that evolved into a more complex system that it's basically listening to the environment and interpreting all the sounds around us, which for us, people who have no hearing deficiency, it's obvious, but for a deaf person, you cannot hear if somebody is ringing the bell, you cannot hear if a baby is crying, or if just the washing machine is done. So they developed this, and then now also in public spaces, and you can think about situations where there is an emergency, just a fire alarm. If you cannot hear it, so then they developed devices that directly send messages to the people to inform them about the emergency situation. So there are plenty of good examples of technology for good. And
technology for good. Regis, thank you so much, because even though there are dark clouds over us, it's good to hear from people like you, who are practitioners, who are actually supporting scale-ups for the technology as a force for good. And I'm really hopeful that if we have people like you as a chairman of those non-profit technology foundations, we're going to get somewhere, right?
I think so, Vitaly, and I'm always convinced we are a silent majority. So I think we just need to speak up more. And so I really appreciate that you gave us that opportunity to share some positive view and on the how the world can go and the use of technology. And I think it all depends on all of us. And I think every single step, everything counts. So
Absolutely. For the audience, if you like this show, please like, share, pass it around, because we rely on you to regularly support us. This is not a paid press, it's just me and Regis today speaking. So if you enjoyed the show, please support us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Regis.
thank you. Bye bye.